What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Question Aggression with me, AJ Agro, AJ from Nervous Aggression, AJ mother. I'm not gonna get this shit monetized. AJ motherfucking West. What? All right, so this is an episode. This is something that just kind of came to me the other day. And I think it's really important for really whatever stage of your music career that you're in. This is probably something that you need to hear if you haven't thought about it already. And unfortunately, a lot of people that I've met along the way probably have like no concept of this shit. So I figured, fuck it, let me make a video about it. Today's topic is your ego getting in the way of your writing. Now, back when I first started this band, I had plenty of problems with ego. Sometimes I still struggle with it today, but not nearly as bad, especially because the homies in the band, we all keep each other in check. But it is a constant issue that affects every aspect of your life, and you need to actively keep yourself in check on this from time to time. And more importantly, surround yourself with good people who are going to help keep you in check as you keep them in check. So without any further ado, Question Aggression, episode whatever, bad at math, ego death. Let's go! Let's go! Way back in the day when I started this band, I was 15 years old. I'm 30 now, so do the math because Lord knows I can't. I started this band when I was 15. I always knew I was wanting to be in a band, for as long as I can remember, honestly. And you know, I would jam with my older brother from time to time, and I remember back in the MySpace days, like every other week he would like make a band page on MySpace. Basically, I think what he would think of like cool band names, and like we would always like put ourselves as members and like distant friends or whatever as other members. And you know, we were very young, so, and I'm talking like this is when I was like probably 11, 12, 13. But you know, around the time I was like 13, 14, 15, I was like really getting serious about it, like, or at least I thought I was back then. You know, anytime we tried to start a band with friends, you know, he's my older brother and his friends were the ones who actually played. So I remember specifically one time, you know, I just pretty much wasn't invited to go jam with them, and I took it to heart and everything like that, whatever. But around the time I was 15, I remember like, you know, he had started yet another band with yet another one of his friends, and you know, we went over to practice, and this isn't throwing shade at him, like we were all young and stuff like that. But I remember like we actually got together for a practice, and I remember like pushing for it to happen really hard. And we sat down and we probably not even jammed for 2 minutes before Blake went off with our friend and sat down and turned on the Xbox. And I just remember sitting there feeling really dejected. So I kind of took it upon myself at that point to kind of like give this like ultimate speech to him. Hey man, I'm starting a band and you can either join in or not, but I'm letting you know that this is my project. This is what I'm going to do. And you're basically allowed to be in it as if I had anybody else who was going to do the job. And such was the birth of Nervous Aggression. And I think maybe that speech, maybe it didn't, but I think it lit a fire under his ass, like, okay, he's serious about this, like, let's really do it. And from there, you know, we started jamming with our friends, learning covers, blah, blah, blah. Here we are today. So back then, you know, we were jamming with one of my friends, and they didn't really have the same desire to write as I did, I think, back then. Or at least the will to have the effort to write, at least, you know. So it kind of fell on me to write everything. And over time, like, since I took it so seriously and I felt like I had to write everything, I did write everything. And when I mean everything, you know, I would write a riff on guitar. It's hardcore punk, so the bass line was pretty much the same thing, except instead of power chords, you're doing single notes. And like, I would even essentially write the drum parts. Like, I would tell Blake what I wanted him to play, how I wanted him to play it, when I wanted it changed up, things like that. Wrote all the lyrics, everything. And you know, that's just kind of how things were for a while. And then when my friend Theo, rest in peace, brother, I miss you very much. When Theo joined the band, I remember that's just kind of the mode we were stuck in. You know what I mean? Like, AJ writes everything and they learn it. And I didn't really realize it at the time. Like, for me, this is where my ego comes in, and I felt self-conscious if they thought of anything. Which is a weird position to be in. Like, you kind of want your drummer to write stuff. You want your guitarist to write things. Like, it doesn't have to all be on you. But back then, it kind of made me self-conscious in a weird way if they wrote anything. And In hindsight, I didn't realize it at the time, but in hindsight, like I was just stepping on their creativity at a certain point. Like I would just reject anything they came up with. And, you know, I thought I was doing the right thing, slash, it hurt my ego. And it, again, made me self-conscious thinking like, oh, they must not think I'm good enough. Or it was a weird thing. Like I felt like I had to write everything. Like I felt like that's what I always did and that's what I always have to do. And so again, by doing that, like I just kind of was just rejecting anything they came up with. And I would imagine they were both pretty miserable being in the band at that point in time. Music at its core is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be a way for you to express your creativity. And I was blocking them from doing that. And it was all because of my ego, you know? I wanted to be known as the guy, he's like, oh, he's basically, it's him that's nervous aggression. He writes everything. He's the man. Those are just, you know, because he doesn't want a drum machine and whatever, you know, I don't know what I was thinking, but it kind of was like, I wanted to be the one known for writing all our stuff. So if it was anything that anybody liked, like I had to be the guy, oh, I wrote everything on that song, which is, you know, dumb and a shitty way of looking at things. So fast forward a couple years, you know, I mean, at this point, like Theo and Blake are like writing and contributing, but like very minimally. Again, I'm kind of like forcing my stuff into everything and like rejecting almost everything that they come up with. So at a certain point, like I want to go to just singing instead of playing bass and singing. I, to this day, love playing bass, as you can tell, like fucking love playing bass. I love playing bass and singing. But at this point in time, I wanted to kind of become more unleashed. And, you know, we had my friend Palmer in for a while playing bass, but then, you know, he wanted to, you know, have a career and a comfortable life and all those nice things. So he ended up moving on, going to college. To this day, I consider him a brother, one of my best friends, love him to death. But, you know, we needed a bassist because I wanted to remain like unchained. I felt like it was better live if I was able to like interact with the crowd, jump around, be a madman, blah, blah, blah. So that brings in Alex, who, you know, back in these days, this is probably 2013, right around there, 2012. Like, I'm just out of high school. Alex would not have been out of high school if not for the fact that he dropped out, took his GED, and like, he just did not want to go to school. I don't blame him either. But when he came into the band, he happened to be in, I don't want to call it a rival band, but in a weird way, it was a rival band. This is back when metalcore was really popular, so the only other couple of bands in the area were metalcore bands. Since that's a heavier type of music, we ended up doing shows together, like, even though we were hardcore punk. And it's funny, because, like, we were pretty, like, low-skill musicians, but put on a great show, and everybody loved us for that. And there were like higher level skilled musicians and also put on a great show, a lot of energy. They were really good. And, they created like, we all got along with each other, but like there's a little competitive spirit there, especially being young men like we were. So their lead guitarist is this little, you know, 16-year-old kid by the name of Alex, who I'm sure everybody knows that name. If you know this band, if you're following the channel, you know who the fuck Alex is. He's been in this band now, other than me, I think longer than everyone else who's ever been in the band, even retroactively. And I'm sure as many of you know, like if you've heard Alex's guitar playing, like this dude's fucking really good. He's an incredibly talented musician. He just always has been. He's just like always been on another level. A good friend of mine, Vince, shout out Vince, if you're watching, I'm sure you are. A good friend of mine, Vince, once described him as like he can just hear something that nobody else can. And I really agree with that. Like he's just got this funky rhythm. Anyway, enough ball washing Alex. You know, enter in Alex. He's this 16-year-old kid and he's like, we need a bassist, and he's more than willing to do it. It's kind of always been that way. He's in multiple bands now. He's always just wanted to do music and really nothing else interests him much. So I don't remember who it was that invited him to come hang out, because we started hanging out with him here and there, and we just got along with him. He was always really cool. Like he and I clicked pretty early. But he came to band practice, and I'm not gonna lie, man, I was a little like on edge. No, you're not gonna eat fluff. This motherfucker tries to eat. He's the reason my couch is ripped apart. He eats cushion fluff. See that shit? No, go away, dude. Don't do that, dude. Don't eat that. No. So, I'm not gonna lie. when Alex came to, and originally he was just coming to chill at practice, I did get a little intimidated. I did get a little on edge because I knew the spot for bass was open, and in the back of my head, I kind of knew like he'd be the perfect fit. And sure enough, by towards the end of that practice, he had like literally learned all of our songs. At that time, we had like 8 or 10 songs. He had learned every song front to back by the end of practice. Granted, there were really basic songs, really verse, chorus, each has one riff. But the fact that he like learned our entire catalog in like one practice was insane to me. And at first when he came in, like I said, I was a little intimidated. I was a little on edge. I did feel a little threatened, but like even by the end of that practice, just the chemistry that we built with him and jamming with him, it's like, man, maybe he would be good to have along, you know what I mean? So in a weird way, you could say his talent forced my ego aside, at least that's how I look at it. And so with Alex coming in with his skill level, how do you turn down, his riff ideas? Like sometimes he came up with riffs and they were a little too much. They were a little like more on the metal side or whatever. It wasn't really what we wanted, but I mean, man, he picked it up quick, and he picked up like writing great punk riffs. And so when we started doing that, like we kind of go back on what Theo was writing, and he started writing more stuff. And the more I allowed these guys to just be creative and do their own things, the more I realized like, hey, this is really good stuff. Like this is way better than I can even write. And like once I kind of came to that realization, like we're all a team, like it's not a competition within the band, that we're all a team, it just opened the floodgates on everybody's creativity. And we became pretty early on, even though it was the early days, like back then we were still like had this really eclectic sound, because we all had different influences, we all had different backgrounds. And on top of that, I put 100% of my focus into writing lyrics. In my opinion, there was a noticeable difference between the lyrics I was writing on. I don't think anybody's gonna know this, I'm pretty sure scrubbed from the internet, but we had an EP called Smash. From that to the Fast Eddie EP, which I think some of you will be more familiar with. Lyrically, there was a huge jump. And I think a lot of that had to do with us all working together. Their influences, their riffs, the things they came up with influenced me to go in a different place. On top of that, I was able to focus 100% on lyrics. But like all of this just became so evident to me that it's just best if we work together. We work as a team, On top of that, like, it's not like I completely stopped writing everything. Like, if they had a riff and I said it'd be better if you went like this instead of that, or, hey, maybe this line would be cooler instead of that line. Maybe don't say this here or whatever. Like, I mean, we just all started helping each other. And it got to the point to where, of course, I write, I pretty much write the lyrics. I've always have. I probably always will. But it's at the point, like, if they have a suggestion on a line or remove a line or whatever, like, I don't take it as a personal attack. And that's another thing. When you're writing with other people, I've noticed that some people take, if you don't like what they come up with, they take it personally and they get angry, and it starts arguments, and it sucks to see. I've seen that in other bands, like if I'm just hanging out at practice or just with other people that I've jammed with, Debo, quit trompling around, boy. And he immediately tromples. But yeah, people will take it as a personal attack. And I just, again, no matter what stage of music you're in, like no matter what point in your career you're in, I mean, just don't get so offended if people don't automatically love everything you write. Like, everything you write is not gold. And it can be hard sometimes. I mean, to this day, there's times where I write these lyrics and it's just like, man, these are fucking awesome. I know this is going to be like our next big one, blah, 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 blah. I bring it to the guys or whatever, and they're like kind of mad, or I don't know about that. I don't know if that's us or whatever. And even at first, initially, I'm like, damn, dude, like I had such high hopes for it or whatever. But then, like, after they kind of break it down to me like that, like 4 or 5 days later, I relook at those lyrics and I'm just like, dude, yeah, these aren't that great. Hell, most of the lyrics I write, I do not bring to them. I don't show them. And I'll think it's like the next big hit, and like a week later, I'll just revisit and be like, these are kind of fucking mediocre as fuck. And I like to do everything 100% the best I possibly can. So I guess my final thoughts on all this is that ego affects every aspect of our lives. And there's really no place for ego and creativity, especially when it's a group effort like being in a band. You can still have your voice, you can still express yourself and take other people's advice and expression in. That's where the most beautiful work, I think, comes from, at least for me. all of our best work is when we come together and write together. And yeah, it can be hard. Yeah, it can be difficult. Sometimes, you know, again, you're really, I like to say I'm married to them. Like, I'm really married to these lyrics, or I'm not really married to these lyrics. It's really hard when you're really married to a set of lyrics or a riff or whatever, and the other guys don't like it. But you got to put that aside and make compromises and work together, because you're a fucking team. And it's not going to be easy. It's not always easy, but none of this is supposed to be easy. If you're chasing this dream, if you're really passionate about this and you want this to be a big part of your life, it's not going to be easy. Because nothing that's worth doing ever is easy. So keep up the good work, drop the fucking ego, and I hope you found something in this video that you can take with you. Alright, real quick before I get out of here, we have a new lyric video / promo thing on the channel. It's also on all our socials and stuff like that. I'm going to put a card for it for the YouTube video right up here. This year we're going to be coming out with a new EP titled Enemies. I've made some references before about our new music, our new sound, our new direction, and Enemies is a prime example of that. This next EP that we're coming out with, in my opinion, is the best work we've ever done to date. I cannot wait to share it with you all. But for now, go ahead and click on this card. This is for a song called Fuck You. It's a lyric video and it's live on our last tour in Atlanta, Georgia. Pretty fucking cool, because every time we play this song live, no matter where it is, even though it's unreleased, we only have played it live up to this point, we still get people singing along to it. So you know it's a fucking hitter. Go check it out. Keep an eye out. Enemies 2023. Nervous Aggression will be coming through your town soon. Love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.